Sanbonani nonke emakaya. You know what it is. It's your girl, Maddy T, also known as Zama Madunks, also known as It's Maddy Money. And I'm bringing you and welcoming you to another exciting episode of #Maddy on Everything. Can I get some clicks in the crowd, please? Can I get some clicks in the crowd? Yo. You know it's Maddy. You know I'm back with that fire. Could never leave you guys hanging for way too long. You know what's up. Yes, everyone, far and wide, nations all over the world, welcome wherever you are streaming from, joining from, on YouTube, because I'm only on YouTube for now, exclusively on YouTube. I'm not sure which other streaming sites I'll join in the near future. But for now, wherever you're coming from, joining me on YouTube, welcome. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons, guys. It really helps with the algorithm to get the content out there so that the people that it can help and that it can impact can really get access to the content. So please do like, share, and subscribe. And also positive vibes only, okay? We don't want no haters on this channel, okay? So thank you. Now, without further ado, guys, welcome to season 2, episode 3 of Maddy on Everything. I'm very, very excited for this episode. So it's been, you know, guests on guests on guests on guests. And that's how basically I've been, you know, ending off the last season and the beginning of this very season. So, you know, funny enough, episode 3, I was supposed to have a guest, but it ended up being just me. And I'm totally embracing that because y'all know where it started, where it was just me. You know what I mean? So we're just going to have to bring it back. We're going to spin the block and bring it right back, guys. So for today's episode, I've got my 2 installations that I'm going to be sharing with you, or inserts that I'm going to be sharing with you. And that is obviously MaddyOnLegals. Well, it's not obvious, but MaddyOnLegals installation 1, where we've previously, you know, shared with you guys some legal advice. Like I mentioned, as you guys know, I'm a lawyer. You should know by now. If you're new to the channel, check a few episodes before you'll get to know about me. But definitely, we are going to be doing MaddyOnLegals. And number 2, we're going to be beginning a soul series, guys. So I'm going to do a 2-part soul series where I will be talking about some things to feed the soul, you know, some interesting things to feed the soul. In this particular instance, we're going to be talking about, okay, you'll find out. But it's a soul series, part 1, and you guys will get to know, you know, you've probably already seen in the YouTube header, but you'll get to know as we go along in the podcast. So let's go, guys. MaddyOnLegals, number 1. So guys, following on from the last time that we spoke on legals, guys, what we spoke about was essentially what you should consider before you're getting married. You know, that's kind of where we were there, and having a look at, you know, customary marriages and marriages here in South Africa. But now we're going to be talking about something else for a little bit, guys. So this is quite a deep question that a lot of us never really want to face or grapple with sometimes, which is, what happens when I die? You know, it's quite a very grim topic. It's quite a, you know, no one really wants to talk about what's going to happen when I die. Some people actually don't really care, right? Some people are like, hell, live for today. You know, and that's cool too. You know, I think millennials are more like living for today. But more and more as you know, as you grow up and, you know, as you age, even for just younger people as well. But as you grow up and as you age, you see that, hey, okay, I'm still on earth. You know, I'm still alive, you know, somehow I've made it. I'm 35, I'm here. And then something says, okay, I might still be here, you know, and you've maybe accumulated certain things. You have a bank account that has some money. You have, you know, a life insurance policy, a retirement savings from your work because you work, you know, you have a job. Maybe you have a car. Maybe your grandfather left you a few paintings and things like that. So what happens to all of those things when you die? So this is where I'm going with it, guys. So today on MaddyOnLegals, I just want us to put in a little bit of a zoom in, you know, the administration of deceased estates, because I think that is a very, very big, issue in our country. And it is a big issue, not only from a government perspective, but just as individuals on the ground, seeing, especially as, Black people, how not understanding or not knowing how these things work definitely affects what happens after people die. So the administration of deceased estates, more importantly or more specifically, looking at wills, guys. So today I want us to consider wills. So National Wills Week in South Africa runs from the 15th to the 19th of September 2025 this year. Okay. So this is, the time where the Law Society basically encourages people to come together and, draft wills if you don't have any will drafted already. This is a time where, lawyers give free wills, during that week, to essentially drive this knowledge forward and to drive this that I'm speaking forward for you to have legal certainty in terms of what happens after you pass away. So with that being said, now, what is the importance of a will? I mean, I'm putting it plainly. I'm sure you've already understood what I'm trying to say, but really, what is the importance of a will? So I just want to explain something. So there's basically two ways or two things that happens after you die. So I'll ask the question, I'm answering it. What happens after I die? Okay, so if you have a will, then your wishes will fall in terms of your will. Whatever it is that you request or that you want done will more than likely happen in terms of what you have requested in terms of your will. If you die without a will, then the state has legislated how your estate essentially will devolve, right? So the state has the Interstate Succession Act, and that will determine how your assets are distributed. Now, why is that important? And then also, before I go to why that is important, is there's also the Wills Act, right? So there's also the Wills Act, which governs how even the provisions that you have in your will operate, right? So as much as you can have a will, it still has to operate within certain frameworks. I mean, you can't say in your will, for example, guys, controversial cases, for example, I want to have a school that will only benefit Afrikaans people. It's controversial. Can you put that in your will? Can you? It's your money. And these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about that, it gets really interesting, But nonetheless, back to what I was saying, before I get too excited. Back to what I was saying is that, there's dying testate, which is with a will, and there's dying interstate, which is without a will. Both of them have legal framework that is associated with them, the Wills Act and the Interstate Succession Act, respectively. And if you don't have a will, really, you've left it to the government to determine how you will, how your things will go, how they'll be distributed. Whereas if you have a will, you have some level of choice. However, that has to fall within a particular legal framework. So that's really what I wanted to share with you guys. And also just mentioning previously that, coming in, just, things to consider. For example, like I said, the last installation was around marriages in community of property versus marriages out of community of property, etc. Now, this becomes important because, for example, these things interlink, right? So if you are married in community of property, that affects how your will could go or your interstate succession could go. So versus if you're married out of community of property. So do you see how, all of these things become wide ranging? And then the other place that you see it popping up quite often, these issues of interstate succession and wills, guys, is of course in the transfer and ownership of property. Because what happens after you die and you own this property and you were married to this one lady and then you were customary married to this other lady and then you were in a civil union with that lady. So those are the kinds of cases that we find in court, you know what I mean? And people then arguing about where to bury somebody, literally where to bury the corpse, there or there or there, because of issues that could have been, avoided, guys. And this is why I'm here. I'm here to say this is important. Let's, when we consider drafting a will, especially with the consideration of National Wills Week, guys, it's not just about, I'm going to leave 50% here and 50% there. I want us to think the will has a lot of implications. Even if you get a free will, I want to encourage you guys today to actually consult professionally a lawyer to do your will for you, considering what pension funds you have, considering how many kids you have, considering how many properties you have, because there is so much that your will can actually do for you. So I want us to really look at how important a will is and how important this is to secure the future of the people that you leave on earth. This is a way to show your love, okay? So that's MaddyOnLegals, guys, right? Okay? Alrighty? Okay, cool. So, we'll be moving on to insert number 2 and of today's episode, and that is the soul session part 1. So this is part 1 of the soul session, guys. So what is the soul session about, guys? The soul session is, as I told you guys, that I am someone who well, I've read the Bible to you guys even. So I'm a spiritualist. I would say I'm a spiritualist. And I told you, it's in the description of the podcast that is some of the content that you're going to be, expecting from me, business and entrepreneurship, all these things. And I genuinely believe entrepreneurship is spiritual. Okay. So today I'm here to tell you entrepreneurship is spiritual. And looking at what I've done as well previously, I'm still on theme, guys. I'm here with you guys because I've done, being a master manifester. It's right on path with that, just looking beyond yourself in terms of, or not beyond yourself, but looking beyond what you can see, because you can't really see inside, right? Can you? Right? So looking beyond what you can see to achieve certain outcomes. So that's where my soul series is kind of coming from. And part 1 of this soul series, guys, that, leading on from topics such as being a master manifester, leading on from topics such as how to step into your boss mode era, such things, is basically practicing good spiritual hygiene. Okay, so that is my topic for the soul session part 1. It's just to get everyone started, just for us to get all on the same page, And you might ask yourself, okay, what gives me authority as a lawyer to speak about spirituality? Guys, I've gone through my own spiritual journey. If you really want to know more about it, I'm willing to tell you. It's just that for now, I'm going to just say I've gone through a spiritual journey where I've gone through, certain practices and reflections and, all these things, to align my spirit and to get me to a higher place spiritually, So that is where I'm coming from. That I'm not some expert or guru, but I can say that I've undergone intentionally, a journey where I was wanting to heighten my spirituality and, get to another level. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, spiritual hygiene, guys. So spiritual hygiene, what is that? What are we even talking about, right? So spiritual hygiene, quite simply, guys, is we care so much about how we look externally, the makeup, the lipstick, the haircut, the clothes that we wear. But often, and we think that's, the status and the symbol. But generally, genuinely speaking, I really think the symbol is inside of you. And that is where spiritual hygiene comes from, is to say you could be the cleanest, person, that you showered, that you shaved, that you put on perfume, but you could, if you are not spiritually clean, you could find that you're not necessarily operating as your best self, you know? That's kind of my case for that one, is to say you might not be operating at your best self if you are not, caring for your spiritual hygiene. So what exactly is that? So basically, it's anything related to cleansing, protecting, and nourishing your spiritual self, guys. So it's very connected almost to the manifestation, right? It's kind of connected because it's similar practices of meditation and, things of that are involved. But let me just try and break it down a little bit further for you guys. So cleansing, right? So part of spiritual hygiene is cleansing. So that means removing negative energy, negative thoughts. That would be meditating. That would be literally putting sage. A lot of people burn sage because they actually associate it with burning off negative energies and things like that. Engaging in activities that promote a sense of well-being. Like one of my favorite ones is gym. I wouldn't say necessarily gym is the only way to practice spiritual hygiene, but it's one of a good examples, one of the best examples, because you really connect with your body, and that's part of it, right? Meditation, connecting and feeling light and positive. So definitely after gym, you feel light, you feel positive, but there could be other things like dancing or whatever, activities that bring that kind of sense to you, but something that makes you feel connected to your body, if you can sense that. And then protection. So that's another thing. So guys, it's cleansing, spiritual hygiene from a cleansing perspective, but there's also from a protection perspective, and there's this concept that I literally came across the other day, which is this destiny swapping concept, and it's something I want to read more into, but it was kind of interesting to think that, I've heard people say on social media that these days we're not fighting your traditional wars. We're fighting spiritual wars, So we're not fighting people because, even that they have better car than you, they have more money than you, or whatever the case is. People are actually fighting with people, based on what they have inside of them, what they can see inside of them, right? So it's quite deep, right? So with that being said, you have to protect yourself, and, protecting yourself would mean, setting boundaries and safeguards that prevent you from negative influences that affect one's spiritual side, guys. So it's very deep, as you can see, guys. And then you would nourish as well. So that's another aspect of it. So spiritual hygiene is about nourishment. So cultivating and strengthening your spiritual side. So practicing gratitude, spending time in nature, and, pursuing your creative pursuits. If you feel like dropping that podcast, you should come to AMPD Studios and talk to them and say, hey guys, I want to do a podcast. Pursue that. That's good spiritual hygiene. If you feel like doing it, do it. I'm doing it. So also, mindfulness and awareness, right? So meditation assists with that. So being mindful, being aware, being present, being in the moment. That is part of spiritual hygiene, right? So guys, spiritual hygiene affects how we feel. It affects how we move, how we eat, how we look, how other people perceive us, and how much stress we have in our lives. So that's why I'm saying that you could be the most rich person in the earth and all of that, but you might not be operating at your best self if you're not practicing good spiritual hygiene, right? And to close it off, or to sort of conclude my spiritual hygiene chats, guys, I do have notes because I want to be pointed with you. It does also come from the Bible, actually. There are a few passages in the Bible as well. I don't know, before I get into the last bit of it, let me read some of the passages from the Bible for you guys, just so that everyone's on the same page, like I say, because the ones that I mentioned before, how I speak about it was very generic. But from the Bible, as a lot of people like to have, is to say 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. Having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Cleanse yourself of the filthiness of flesh and spirit. I don't want to get into Maddy Ministries. This is not Maddy Ministries. This is soul sessions, but it's coming through, right? And basically, God's desire is that his people will be clean outwardly and inwardly. That's Zechariah chapter 3, verse 4. He loved those whose hearts and lives are perfect towards him and has made adequate provision for their all-round cleansing. Hebrews 10, verse 22. In Psalms 51, verse 7, David prayed for God's cleansing. We also have a crucial role to play in this matter. So we really need to be looking at cleansing, guys, like spiritual cleansing. So we ask God to be cleansed, right? Because we're sinners, right? So I think it's a real thing. You don't just go around saying, hey, me, I'm the beep, I'm the .com, I'm the big dog. Yeah, you are the big dog, but like you probably stepped on some toes or something, coming up. Who knows? So you should really pray and ask for forgiveness and cleanse your spirits and see how you behave on a day-to-day, right? So guys, just reading a little bit to say what are the benefits of personal spiritual hygiene. Personal spiritual hygiene is a conscious and decisive effort put in by man to purge himself of all filthiness. So 2 Corinthians 1, verse 7, in order to become whole and acceptable to God through help of the Holy Spirit. Okay, guys. So how can you do it? It says, having identified the gray areas in your life, take heed thereto, necessary adjustments, and make changes to show that you fear God. Okay, so this is where we're going with it, right? So how are you practicing it? So you've seen that, okay, maybe I'm not okay. Now that's where I'm going. So you stay clear of appearances of evil, 1 Thessalonians, wash thoroughly in water of God's word, Ephesians 5, verse 26, Ezekiel 36, verse 25, mortify the deeds of the flesh and draw near to God. Okay? So God is telling you what to do. He says, you want to make the necessary adjustments now that you see you're not spiritually clean. You want to steer clear of the appearances. You want to wash thoroughly in the water of God, all these things. So now I am ending now. That's what I was saying. I'm ending this particular episode with me saying these are examples that I am saying is the example of of what could be bad spiritual hygiene and what could be good spiritual hygiene. So whether you agree with me or not is something else. But, you don't have to be mean about it. I just wanted to point that out because there's some people on my YouTube that are coming. Okay, there's one person. It wasn't even a lot of people. It was one guy who said something mean and was saying, like, just because I said something about the housewives, I knew that I'm jealous of whatever. So listen. If you don't, I've said none of that. I don't want that kind of commentary. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, just keep your mouth shut. And let's just speak nicely, okay? We can disagree in a nice way. You don't have to be personal, okay? But if you want to be personal, I'm going to block you. I'm going to block you off my, I'm going to report you to YouTube. Anyway, as I was saying. So bad spiritual hygiene examples, guys. So I think these are some of the things that I've seen on social media as well. And this is my personal experience as well. So I'm not perfect, but this is what I think bad spiritual hygiene examples could be. So number 1, gossiping. I think gossiping is top of bad spiritual hygiene because essentially you're coming together to speak like evil about other people. That is very miserable. And, if you notice, they always say something about misery loves company. So, in misery, you like coming together, talking about, oh, this one, because you can't focus on your own life, basically. Because why would you be gossiping? Because you're talking about other people. So you need to, it's bad spiritual hygiene because you're not focusing on your own life. And I don't know what other reasons it's necessarily bad spiritual hygiene, but in the sense that, there's negativity as well. I'm willing to hear what you have to say, but it's an example that I can easily think that, you find that if you surround yourself around gossiping people, you pick up negative energy, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. You pick up negative energy because remember, part of spiritual hygiene is to guard yourself against negative influences. So if you're around people who are negatively speaking about people, that is going to latch onto you. There's no way it won't latch onto you. Even if you're not that person that's you're just agreeing with them, you're in that frequency. So that's going to latch onto you. So guys, watch out for gossiping and being around miserable people who just talk about other people. Watch out for that. And then number 2, another example of bad spiritual hygiene is oversharing. So guys, in the age of social media, it's very easy for us to literally overshare. I've been in that place because I am someone who posts a lot. I love to share my life a lot. I like to let people know, this is who I am. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, but that is something to be careful about, guys. You need to be careful how much you share with people. You need to be careful who it is that you're sharing with. I would advise you not to share your most intimate plans until they are actually completed. So if you have an idea or anything that you're working on, try as far as possible to only tell yourself, and the people that you're potentially working with. And I even take it further to say from a legal perspective, you might want to even sign some non-disclosure agreements if you're going to be sharing your ideas, because this is called IP. It's called intellectual property. So oversharing is bad spiritual hygiene for sure, okay? Because the more you leak in it, your information is leaking energy, the more people know about you, the more that they can use that against you, okay? Number 3, people pleasing, okay? People pleasing / weak boundary setting / betraying yourself, okay? This is bad spiritual hygiene, guys, okay? So if you are doing things to please other people, you know what? Look, I know there's compromising. I know there's humility. I know there's feeling like you're being treated badly in a situation, but knowing that, like at the end of the day, there's something better for me. That's good spiritual hygiene, okay? Because in that instance, you know that like, okay, this is crap, but you're being intentional to say, you know what, I'm accepting this nonsense because I know that I'm working on something bigger. But the bad spiritual hygiene is you're accepting nonsense just to kind of make people like you, or just to, there's no real reason why you're doing this. You just want to fit into a group, or I don't know, whatever it is. But you end up betraying yourself, or you set weak boundaries in the sense that the people won't do things that you appreciate. So it won't be something that you like, but you accept it for whatever reason. So that is bad spiritual hygiene, okay? Because you're betraying yourself. You're saying no to yourself to make others happy. So you need to definitely check that, okay? And then another example of bad spiritual hygiene would be, I think, anything in excess, okay? So just like sex, drugs, alcohol, just anything overdone is just not a good idea, right? Because, good spiritual hygiene is being balanced, is being good. Well, I'm going to get to all the list of good spiritual hygiene. And number 5, leading on from excess, I just wanted to highlight this one, especially the sleeping around. Okay, guys, whoever can come to me about whatever, as they always do, okay? But sleeping around is definitely one of my top examples of what a bad spiritual hygiene is. I think you're going to end up with a broken aura. You have, many spiritual karmic ties that you invite into your space. And now you start to wonder why you feel depressed, stressed out, and anxious. Sleeping around invites STIs, so there's physical problems. And then, of course, never mind the fact that, you could get pregnant and all these other things. So, yeah. So, guys, that's my top examples of bad spiritual hygiene. I don't know what number of sleeping around means to you, but you know better. I'm just saying the Bible kind of says one man, one partner, or, man and wife. So I think one partner per person should be okay. But hey, do you boo-boo, okay? I ain't judging nobody. If you want to roll how you roll, I ain't judging you. Okay, guys, so then to end it off, what I think good spiritual hygiene is. 1, practicing gratitude. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you all the time for always being supportive of the podcast and everything. Number 2, prayer. Okay, so prayer. Other people don't call it prayer. I don't know what other people call it. It could be affirmations. It could be visualizations, whatever it is. Number 3, I think kindness and positive acts, guys. And that is kindness and positive acts to yourself and others, okay? So this good spiritual hygiene starts with you. So there's no point in you being Mother Christmas to the whole world, but you can't even sort yourself out. You know what I'm saying? You've got to be able to love others and love yourself. And that's my timer, guys. And then another thing, number 4, I think connecting with nature is good spiritual hygiene, because we so disconnected from nature, guys. I'm ending it off. We're so disconnected from nature. And that is one of the biggest, things that we are coming from nature. We are from the sand, the earth. This is us. And we sometimes live so apart from that. So good spiritual hygiene, connecting with nature and animals. And lastly, silence or solitude. So that's my last one for what I think good examples of good spiritual hygiene is. Being by yourself, being in silence. Man, if I could be silent for 7 days, I would. I literally would be, listen to that. And with that, guys, thank you so much. And I will see you at the next episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun. I hope you had fun. We had fun. Yeah. See you at the next one.